Now, though, let's return to our main story. The 19-year-old British woman who ran away to join so-called Islamic State, who's told the Times newspaper she wants to return to Britain. Shamima Begum says she has no regrets and it didn't faze her seeing beheaded heads during her time with the jihadists. Our security correspondent Gordon Carrera told us as IS's caliphate crumbles, Western governments are now all grappling with this issue.
The issue of foreign fighters, but also brides of foreign fighters, children of foreign fighters, people who say they went out there but it's not clear whether there's evidence they were fighting. Those issues are really suddenly becoming very pressing. People have been known about them for some time, but different countries are taking different approaches. Some have previously said they don't want them at all. Now they're beginning to take them back, but under strict conditions. In some cases it's children, in other cases it's not. In some cases those people are dispersing to third countries because they don't want to go back. But suddenly this challenge is becoming very urgent to work out who poses a security threat, who should be prosecuted, who should be assessed, maybe monitored, who should be left alone, who in some cases should be put into kind of de-radicalisation programmes.
Well, that was Gordon Carrera. With me now is Rashad Ali, who was once a top member of an Islamist organisation, now a counter-terrorism practitioner. He's a senior fellow at the Institute for Strategic Dialogue here in London. Welcome here to the programme. Let's pick up on that point that Gordon was making. How much of a dilemma is this for Western governments now? What to do? Whether to take nationals back, whether to prosecute them for terrorist crimes, whether to rehabilitate them?
So I think what we've got to bear in mind is just put it into context. You had a veritable European battalion of ISIS people fly out to join, who are now either returning back, from the remnants of those who have been killed, from those who are disenfranchised, if you like, and also those who are very hardened from seeing their friends, their family members slaughtered and killed by their enemy and so on. And so you have individuals like this young girl who was 15 when she left, desiring to come back, but almost seemingly hardened by her ideological experiences.
I'll come back to just how hardened in a moment, but you do a lot of work in this area. Can people be de-radicalised? And if so, how do you actually do it?
Well, I think two things. One is, we have many individuals. This is not a new phenomenon completely, although the numbers are unprecedented. It's not a new phenomenon. We have for several years dealt with individuals returning back from conflict zones, including from Syria and ISIS, and also other groups. So it's not completely new, and we have successfully managed to exit people from these groups, detach them from these groups, and B, actually help them reintegrate and rebuild their lives. So from both sides, de-radicalise and help them restart their lives again.
And you're sure, are you, that this whole process can be unwound, that level of brainwashing? It was really fascinating listening to that interview, many parts of it, but she made the point early on. She got married within 3 days of actually arriving there in Syria. We then heard her go on to say she had no regrets, was unfazed by seeing beheaded heads. I mean, there'll be a lot of members of the public that listen to all of that, unsympathetic, and think the risk is simply too great.
So I think two things. One is, I don't think there's any need to be sympathetic. I mean, obviously what you're describing is quite horrific, so we shouldn't be naive about this. We're talking about very hardened individuals who will actually go through a legal process. If there's evidence, and there is obviously in this case, of individuals who have joined ISIS, they will be convicted for that, whether they're engaging in violent acts or not. That's the first thing. The second thing is, having said that, whether they're in prison or outside of prison, there will be work done to try and dissuade them from their ideological inclinations. Now, from our experiences, we've seen that happen on a large-scale level in places like Libya and Egypt, but on individual level, we have many, many cases, more than 100 cases of individuals.
And do you think for those people who are outside of prison, I mean, how they are overseen during that process is going to be absolutely critical? The Germans, for example, have hundreds of people who joined IS coming back to them. Do we have the resources within Western countries to actually monitor all of these people if all of that rehabilitation work is also going on and they're out in the community?
So I think actually the numbers will be smaller than the thousands that went out, partially because many of them have been degraded, they're just dead, they've been killed. The other individuals who are returning, yes, they will be monitored, but most of them, I think, will need to prepare our civil society for this, because actually it isn't something that we as a society have dealt with, reintegrating dozens of individuals like this. So in that sense, the scale is new and the challenge is new.
OK, Rashad Ali, thank you so much for coming in and joining us on today's program.